always follow her work devoted to food and dietary wrong measurements that some children could have, and this will give an implication in the health, and especially in chronic cough that we are going to hear today. Why some children have a chronic cough, they go to several doctors, and the problem of the chronic cough doesn't solve. So Julie, is a pleasure for us. We are two entities here, IAPO and Fundação Otorrino, and I thank Dr. Ricardo Bento to accept our invitation as well, and Dr. Koji, he's here already, and he's going, hi Koji, thank you so much for coming, and we're going to start right now. You could please share the screen and put your PowerPoint.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. Please confirm, Tanya, do you see it?
Yes.
Wonderful. Good evening. Hi, what a pleasure and honor it is for me to be connected with you live, to all the amazing Brazilian physicians and healthcare providers that I wish I had the chance to meet in person. Thank you for joining me this evening. It's such a great honor for me to speak. As Tanya kindly introduced me, I'm speaking today about how diet and dietary habits can impact children's health. As you get to know me and I share with you my journey and what I have learned that I didn't learn in medical school, residency training, or fellowship, but it's almost 20 years now because of my curiosity about why thousands of children I meet in the United States were always sick, and we couldn't explain that. And no matter how many doctors they see and how many medications they're on, they keep having the same persistent issues. So this also, because I became a mother myself, I think I'm grateful that I became who I am today, and how I've learned to take care of children better when there's no surgical options. As we around the world share our fight against the pandemic of coronavirus, I want to take a moment and dedicate my presentation tonight to a surgeon in your country that I have never met. This gentleman passed away last week on Monday from COVID-19. He is the cousin of a psychologist that I work with very closely, because Tanya or Dr. C also knows I'm passionate about well-being and wellness for people who care for patients. And she supports all the residents and the faculty at my hospital, because we have many physicians who, of course, are in high degree of burnout. So this is in honor and memory of him, just like so many doctors, nurses, people that work in hospitals around the world who lost their lives by caring for somebody else. So very quickly, a deep gratitude to my friend, my mentor and inspiration, Dr. C. For as long as I've known her, she is never too tired to try to bring people together around the world and to share information. I had the chance to be in Taiwan with her for the Asia Oceania Congress. I think it was 2015. And then in 2016 in Orlando, Florida, IAPO was our honored guest when they came to join CENTAC. I served as president that year. And then I cannot believe it's a year ago, it feels like forever, when I went to Buenos Aires to join her first ever World Congress of ENT. So Tanya, thank you for the honor and the privilege to share what I have seen. And then finally, it's also been a privilege to contribute to the incredible manuals that Tanya puts together to give to physicians around the world, translated in so many languages. So I am also very honored that she has allowed me to write about the topic I'm sharing tonight. I have nothing to disclose except that I have a little business. It was just started because I self-published 2 books on Amazon. I realized a long time ago, for me to help more patients, I want to go directly to the parents. What I share tonight does not represent my hospital. It's my career and my work. So very quickly, I always share my life and my sense of purpose so that you understand why I've dedicated my life to want to change how we care for children. I had a miracle pregnancy. My daughter Claire is 14 now. It was after becoming a mother that I really started thinking very differently, and hope that I have become a better physician and ENT surgeon. So I'm going to play a video for you.
Calm down. It's okay. Calm down. Calm down. Mommy's gonna rub your hair. I'm ready. You ready? Okay, calm down. I know it's hard. Okay, turn on. Hold it up there.
So this is an example of one of thousands of children I have treated, but this was very early in my career that inspired me to look deeper at what's happening. This is a 3.5-year-old, I was in Kansas City, middle of the country. He was born beautiful, full term, no medical problems. But for over 1 year, he had recurrent croup. So you just watch that video and I hope you're as uncomfortable as I am. Clearly, he's struggling to breathe. We hear stridor. He is very uncomfortable. This is very common, at least once or twice a week. Every month they call 911 when it's really bad, and they take the ambulance comes to take them to the children's hospital. But here in America, we call that croup. So we give maybe albuterol, racemic epinephrine, and then he gets better. Most of the time he doesn't stay at the hospital, and then they send him home, but always with steroid. In fact, the family has a bottle of steroid in the refrigerator. He takes it almost every week. Now, by the time they meet me, I was the 7th specialist. They have seen many pulmonologists, many ENT, allergists, trying to come up with the plan. Nothing was helping. So the one thing I did that other doctors probably never did was ask the parents what this child eat, what he drinks every day from the time he wakes up until bedtime. So what was interesting, the one thing that impressed me was he drank chocolate milk, maybe 7 times, 9 times a day. They don't count. He drinks it as soon as he wakes up, 8 ounces. He has it with breakfast. Anytime he's thirsty, he has it with lunch. He has it before nap, afternoon, dinner. Every night before bed, he drinks chocolate milk. So I told the mother, I think what's happening is he's having a lot of sugar, a lot of dairy. He has severe acid reflux. What we just saw is laryngeal spasm. It is not asthma. It's not croup. He doesn't have a virus. He doesn't have a cold. Always happens at night. So at first she thinks I'm crazy, but I think they were so tired. Those parents are never sleeping. So I said, try it. Stop all the chocolate milk. She says that's impossible. He cannot live without his chocolate milk. I promised her he would survive, and it's up to her if she wants to try it. So after maybe 2 weeks of that, he never had the problem again. In my city, we were able to have a story about this boy. So imagine one child, nobody's afraid to go to sleep. They don't have to go to the hospital. No more seeing doctors, stopping the albuterol, Pulmicort, Singulair, Claritin, Zyrtec, antibiotics, and stopping the steroid. This is what inspired me that something doesn't make sense. So I continue every day to ask what children eat and drink. Now, many of you in the audience know who Dr. Chevalier Jackson is. He is considered the pioneer in our country for otolaryngology and bronchoscopy, bronchoesophagology. He invented many tools to take out foreign body in the airway. But what many people may not know about him, he cares so much about public health and safety. In fact, he is the reason United States passed the Federal Caustic Poison Act in 1927. This is the act that says everybody has to put a label that warns the public of the injury and death from lye ingestion and many chemicals. And he also was the one who created these pamphlets he would give to moms. What does your baby put in his mouth? So this was very inspirational to me. I asked myself, what are the ingestion risks in the 21st century? Sure, many of us ENTs for children and pediatricians, we warn families, don't let your baby put toys in your mouth. Don't put a battery in your mouth. Don't swallow a coin. But those occurrences are by far so few compared to what our children eat and drink every day. Here's another story that I want to tell you. Stories are very important. Everything I've learned the last 20 years comes from each patient that have their own story. What's your name?
Kristen.
Can you count to 10 for me?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Thank you. So a 10-year-old, again, healthy boy. I see a lot of sick children, but these are the stories of children who were not born with cerebral palsy, heart problems, a prematurity, brain damage. No. These are healthy kids. They come to see me because his voice is hoarse for 1 year. They never had intubation. That's the risk factor for me, for the larynx. I noticed when he came to see me, he's sitting there itching. I took a look at his wrist, his knees. He's bleeding. His mother says, oh, he has very bad eczema. He's seeing dermatology, allergy. He's already had testing, no allergies. But he cannot sleep at night. But no one asked him what he eats and drinks. So I did. So this is a typical American child. The mother's very nice. She said, I went back to school to become a nurse practitioner. I admit I used to cook, but now we're too busy. We don't cook very much. The boy has an older brother that plays football. So the family eats dinner very late. But basically, every day, the boy gets as much soda as he wants. Coke or Sprite, he eats pancakes. This is all American food. When he snacks, he eats Lunchables. There are these packages of ham, cheese, cookies, okay? He always loves Capri Sun, the fruit drinks. Then for school, but in America, in a public school, you get milk. They can choose white chocolate or strawberry. He chooses chocolate. He loves to drink lemonade, anything sweet. He eats yogurt that's in a tube. I don't know if they have it in Brazil. I hope not. It's called Go-Gurt. He eats fruit snacks, string cheese, drinks Gatorade. He doesn't play football himself. He plays soccer. But they eat fast food in America and about 3-4 nights a week. Now, sometimes before he goes to bed, he has a snack. So when I calculated the total amount of sugar, as soon as he wakes up till bedtime, it was about 200. If you divide 200 by 4, every 4 grams of added sugar is about 1 teaspoon. This is a boy who's eating 50 teaspoons of sugar a day. Of course, when I explained this to his mother, she's shocked. She doesn't understand. She never thought of it that way. And she's going to school to be a nurse practitioner. So I said to them, listen, I scoped him. He has some irritation, no tumor, no papillomas. I said, listen, this is how I treat most children as a surgeon, believe it or not. I spend so much time teaching them how to read the label. I ask them, please stop so much sugar. Teach them to drink water. Maybe if you want juice once a day. And please stop eating before bed. I ask for about 1 hour at least if they're before kindergarten. Once kindergarten older, 1.5 hours. Just stop. You can drink water. So no medication. I'm not a skin doctor. He comes back in 1 month.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Okay, so even though I'm not a laryngologist, you can hear the difference. What was remarkable to me, the mother says, I cannot thank you enough. My boy's skin cleared up. He's sleeping all night. I didn't believe that, wow, is that possible? Inflammation from sugar. So I bring him back 4 weeks later for the second time. And you can see he is so much better. And now he's happy, I'm happy, voice is better. Again, no surgery, no medicine. Now, I will say as an ENT, I joke about this. Some days I'm really tired of explaining this thousands of times to American parents. I have all the time, more and more, see families, they come and they say, my child is sick all the time. When I was in residency, 1996 to 2001 at the Mayo Clinic, I never met children whose parents say they're sick all the time. There's no textbook chapter on how to treat a child that's sick all the time. But every day, this is what I see in my clinic. The nose is running all the time. Human beings cannot have a cold 365 days a year. I don't believe that. And also, babies can be born allergic to food and animals. But really, you need to be alive maybe 4 years exposed to become allergic to trees, grass, pollen, the dust mites, and the aero allergens, right? For the most part. So I started asking more questions. And every time, this is what in America, the parents will say. The pediatrician, family doctor, urgent care, emergency room, everybody says the same. Your child has a virus. You have a sinus infection. He has allergies. So I also learned the difference between when somebody's nose is not good. I ask, is the stuffy congestion dry or stuffy wet? Wet looks like the picture. Dry is they don't blow anything out and they always cough. And if you even ask about reflux, 9 out of 10 American parents say, oh yeah, they told me my baby had reflux. Now, some of them have croup, not everybody. So many children, the doctors say they have baby asthma. So they're on albuterol, all the medicines I list here. This is very upsetting to me as a mother and as a doctor. If a child born medically healthy can be so sick by age 3 and 4, and they're already on 5-4 medication, what will happen for the rest of their life? Are we going to take medicine for 30 years, 40, 50, 70? I don't understand that. And I also started asking a lot about constipation. So this is what in America, in my hospital system, is the electronic medical record. I only point this out because you see thousands of children. And what do you see here? They see allergy, GI doctor, ENT. I just want you to know they come to the emergency room. So what I'm telling you is the truth, not something I made up. So I asked myself, what is it we doctors, we think we're smart, we're educated, we go to school a long time. Why is it we are not able to get these children better? They come with globus sensation, they can't swallow, they have a hard time sleeping, they snore. Everything is there. And what I didn't agree, it's so many people think you take out the tonsil, the adenoid, and everything is okay. That is just not true, because I have children that other surgeons take out tonsils and adenoid, but have the same symptom. So until I learn about their diet or change it, it's not better. Now, very early in my career, when I finish training and I meet these children, I say to myself, that's crazy. Why is the medications not working? We're in the United States, we have very good medication. Then I realized very quickly, medicine will not work if you don't have the disease. That's why the Zyrtec, the Claritin, the Flonase, it doesn't work if the runny nose and the congestion is not from allergies. So medicine's not going to work if you don't have the problem, or sometimes you don't have enough dose. There's genetic variations, right? Now we know, for example, proton pump inhibitor. My hospital and GI colleague has found, just like codeine, which caused significant risk and FDA warning in America, people have different metabolism and receptors for various drugs. Now, some medicines are just bad, so that's why it doesn't work. But every day, what I ask myself when I meet a child, other doctors have already given the labels of whatever the disease is. I ask myself, does this child really have it? Now, what is it about sick kids? 17 years later, thousands and thousands of documents in my notes. What can I tell you to save you 17 years? I can tell you these kids in America, too much milk. The much more than the national guideline. The American Academy of Pediatrics says after 2, you maybe only need 12 ounce and you don't need whole milk. You can go to 2%. And that's because in America, we say you need the fat from the milk to help the myelination in your brain. Well, the truth is I'm born and raised in Taipei, Taiwan. Cow milk was only for the rich people. Billions of us grew up without cow milk, and I would say that we're alive and we're here. So then in America, somehow now more than ever, and even immigrants who come to Florida, so many children have bedtime milk. Sometimes 2-year-old wake up middle of the night. Parents think they're hungry, so they give them more milk. And the sugar, I think the slide earlier showed you how much that is. What is breaking my heart over the last almost 20 years is how children drink less and less water. I try to show them videos. When you give a plant water, it lives. You give a plant soda, it dies. And so many families, they're like victims. The moms say to me, no, you don't understand. My child is so picky. Today, I had a 14-month-old who the mother said he's so hyper, I have to take him to the doctor. 14 months, cannot talk. He's eating these muffins and drinking a Capri Sun so fast, his nose is running. He drinks, mother says, 1 gallon of milk a day. So this is America. I hope in Brazil grocery stores, it doesn't look like this. So taught us about nutrition. Nobody says to ask your patients what they eat and drink and what time. I will say that in adults, when I train in ENT, we all train in adults. We ask everybody, do you smoke and do you drink alcohol? Because that's the risk factor for cancer. When you're taking care of children, they're not smoking, they're not drinking alcohol. But what we need to ask is what they're eating, because it turns out they have so much systemic inflammation. So I have learned by myself how in 15 minutes, I have to listen to the mother to see the problem. I have to wash my hands, right? Examine the child. Then I have to, if they're one of these kids, I have to spend so little time trying to get the key information and explain why I really would encourage them to make change. That's not easy, but I'm very proud I've learned to do that. Other things in America are all these yogurt products. I want you to know that this year, the global market for yogurt sales for the United States is $40.6 billion. The sale of yogurt products last year was 9 billion. This year may be 8.2. In 1996, 2000, 2005, we didn't have yogurt like we have today. The toddlers, the babies, they love it. It's creamy, it's smooth, it's got sugar. They get very addicted to it, okay? We're the country where the children live on nuggets, pizza. They don't eat much fruit and vegetable. Very different than how I grew up in Taiwan. We ate fruit every day. You don't have to be hungry. When somebody comes to your house, you welcome them with fruit. All the vegetables are cooked, so they're softer. We don't eat salads or cold. That's my culture. I'm Americanized because I've been here 40 years and I cook almost every night. But I will tell you, this is what I've learned, is that so many American parents, they make a dinner, then they make a different dinner for the baby because the baby or the child will not eat the dinner they cook. So this is what it also looks like in America. You can see the marketing. We tried to say, if you eat yogurt, look at your baby, right? It makes you think they're healthy, they're chubby, they're cute, they're plump. And then we use these, everything is in a pouch now. This is very concerning to me. It turns out if you watch documentaries and you're interested in food science, and I am not an expert, it turns out to make things sweet, to addict the brain, it is much cheaper to use 90% fructose instead of 55%. So the amount of sugar concentrate in food keeps going up. And then there's ingredients in there you can't even pronounce, dimethyl polysiloxane. This is stuff in silly putty. In America, silly putty is like Play-Doh, yeah? And then there's nanoparticles, titanium oxide. They find this. Dannon is a brand of yogurt. And there's, if you look in the literature, you're going to find there is scientific evidence of inflammation for the whole body that's linked to all kinds of things because of processed foods. Now, what the parents taught me is this. They say, oh my God, but it says 100% juice. It says no sugar added. If in America they see the word organic, everybody thinks it's safe. Americans think that if milk is good for you, let them drink all they want. More is better. And then because we all now know, oh, we take too much antibiotics, so we need a probiotic. Therefore, yogurt is good. And I think that's why the marketing for yogurt in the industry became so powerful and big. So I spend a lot of time explaining that, listen, when you're younger than 1, please, no juice at all. I try to say no juice till 2 to 6, I tell them 4 to 6 ounces a day. That's it. But if they eat fruit, I tell them you don't need juice, it's just sugar water. Also, I don't know if you in your country have these advertisements, but in Portuguese. You see, in America, it's been 50 years, maybe more, after World War II, the marketing about milk. And you think that when you drink milk, you're really, healthy. But look at this little girl with the chocolate milk. What makes me so angry, that little girl is the same boy in the video you see. So then, of course, we have this kind of marketing. All I'm going to say is I understand why I don't look like the women in the picture, maybe because I don't drink cow milk. Now, we know from animal studies that when rats and mice, when they taste sugar, they don't go back to cocaine. That's very scary. In America, there's been a lot of media and attention. But no matter how much people hear on TV, maybe sometimes, it's very hard to change behavior. So I ask myself and I ask the parents every day, if they come to my appointment with the snack, I turn the package around and I show them, what are we willing to put in our mouth and that of our children's bodies? Look at this, high fructose corn syrup. What is all this preservative, sodium citrate, citric acid? See the acid. Everywhere it's acid. So because of almost all processed things having acid, so it doesn't go bad for 1 year, for 2 years in a shelf. I explained to the family, this is why the children are so sick. If I have families that listen to me and they are willing to make a change, I tell them what they can expect. So first of all, the children that drink a lot of sugar, they eat horrible. They're always thirsty. And also they have the horrible runny nose and the problems we talked about. One thing is children who are skinny, I want to tell you, the parents say, the pediatricians and other doctors tell them, oh, he's skinny, let him eat whatever he wants. No calorie is bad. And oftentimes they eat a lot of sugar. And in America, the obesity epidemic is usually due to sugary drinks. So why do parents not stop or limit the sugar? I've been learning through my conversations and I learned about myself. Who wants to fight? Today, I left the house at 6:30. I told Tanya I drove 1 hour, 60 miles to a clinic, saw patients, drove an hour back. When I work all day, I come home, I feel guilty. I'm not with my one child, my miracle pregnancy. Who wants to fight with their child every night, right? But I have learned I want to fight because I love my daughter and I love children. I'm teaching parents how to fight. Don't give up, right? They're very smart. They will keep refusing and exert control or cry or whatever. Some parents are just so busy, they don't even notice what they're buying and what the people are eating. There's no limits. And so many parents are happy when I show them how much sugar, because no one ever told them. They don't read the nutrition label. And finally, this one is very interesting. I don't know about your culture. In America now, everybody wants to make their baby happy. Maybe Asian culture is harsh. My father never asked if I was happy, right? So now it's, oh, but he likes it. Oh, that makes him happy. I have to blame the grandparents a little bit too. The grandparents are amazing. They're taking care of the children while the mom and dad are at work. Grandparents oftentimes have a tendency to give the child what they want. Very quickly, I want to talk about the teenagers in America. This breaks my heart too. My daughter's 14. I saw one today, 17 years old, no energy. They came to see me for recurrent strep and sore throat. She's always tired. This every week I see this. They don't eat breakfast. I can guess the mother thinks I'm a magician. I said, don't tell me. I'm going to tell you what your child is like at home. They don't eat breakfast. They're too sleepy. They don't eat lunch because it's disgusting. And the ones that eat lunch is soda and pizza. When they come home after school, they're starving, but they don't feel so good. I think they're hypoglycemic. So they eat and binge, but it's not always healthy food. So all of a sudden they get very tired. They take a nap or they start to drink caffeine and energy drink. And then they're not really exercising. Right? We blame the pandemic now. Nobody's out moving, playing sports. They're on their their social media on the cell phone, right? So also, they just today I said to this mom, her daughter's going to sleep at 1 o'clock. She has no energy. You know why? She wakes up at 11. She doesn't eat. She eats junk food. She doesn't exercise. I told them that the body thinks you're dying. It does not need to make energy when you're not moving. I certainly was not going to take out her tonsil. She eats and drinks all the way up to bedtime. She wakes up with a dry mouth and a sore throat. Now, when they have morbid obesity, I think because I have had so much pain in my own life, I understand now that eating and obesity is not about hunger. I definitely use my time to try to understand my patient. I am not a psychologist, but I can tell you these teenagers, they lose a parent when they're young. They've had trauma. Some are sexually or physically abused. They have depression. They don't feel important. The world is more and more like this. And this makes me very sad, my effectiveness as a physician and surgeon. Some days I feel like giving up, but I can't, right? Because these people and our patients love and need us. So anyways, once I can get the ones to stop having so much dairy and sugar, I notice over and over for many years, they just get better. We don't need all the doctors and we don't need the medicine. Okay. So I want to tell you that children in my country, and I hope not, but maybe in yours and around the world, they are very sick. It's because of the processed food and drinks our countries make and sell. My country is selling a lot of stuff to your country and around the world. And as long as, capitalism or places where we put the value on profit, it just seems really devastating that the future of humanity is the cost that we're willing to expend. So sugar, dairy, too much acid, they have acid reflux. The children, they don't have heartburn. It's silent. Yeah. So oftentimes, I know Tanya shares my work. In 2013, I created the term the milk and cookie disease. It's not just about milk and cookies. It's about sugar and dairy. Because even in my own family, they love it when I make warm chocolate chip cookies. We drink oat milk. Over the years, we've had I grew up on soy milk and soy milk, or we do almond, we do oat. Now you can find so many kind, coconut, cashew, many things that are no longer cow milk, because I do believe it can be immunogenic and it has anabolic steroids and hormones and stuff in it. Yeah. So the reason I talk about the milk and cookie disease is this: dairy, sugar, very acidic. Okay. Sugar breaks down, I did not know this, to alcohol, which then breaks down to vinegar. Now, when you take milk cold from the refrigerator, it doesn't taste nasty. It's not sour because it's neutral. The pH is 7. But once it goes to a human body, like a little child, the temperature is 97, 98 degrees. They sleep all night with the milk. When you put a glass of milk in the Florida sun for 4 hours, I promise you, it's going to look like the picture. Nobody's going to drink it. It's disgusting. It becomes very fermented and curdled. So this is a problem because the more acidic the things in the stomach, the longer it takes to get out of the stomach to the intestine. And then if you're laying down, you're just creating acid reflux, even laryngopharyngeal reflux. So I tell family a little bit about this, but I don't have time. They don't always understand. What is GET? Now, if you have diabetes and you're sick, we all know when you eat a lot of heavy food, it feels like it sits in your stomach for a long time. If we exercise and drink a lot of water and eat fiber, which most children now compared to before don't do that, then the emptying time is slow. But what's very important about sugary drinks is the number of dissolved sugar particles in a particular volume of liquid. The more sweet, the more particles, the longer it is to get it for it to come out of the stomach. So the worse the acid reflux, right? And we all know this is why before anesthesia, you cannot eat for 8 hours, because that's how we guarantee there's nothing in the stomach. Children are at high risk for not just gastroesophageal reflux, but for laryngopharyngeal reflux, right? I always wonder why my whole life I have problems. I have a lot of stress-related stomach digestive issues. But in children, they're babies. The distance between the mouth and the stomach is so short. Unlike this beautiful, cute giraffe here, right? I joke about my husband, he's 6'2". Does not complain about reflux, almost never. He has a lot of distance between his stomach and his throat. So because babies and children have short distance and they eat and drink milk and lay down, this is why they get a lot of reflux. Also, I absolutely am against Pediasure, those things. You know, if you have a trach and a G-tube and you need G-tube feeding, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about so many children whose families have been told, or they just believe, my kid doesn't eat fruits and vegetables, I need vitamins. So I'm gonna buy this Pediasure and let them drink it. The only reason I really don't like it, it's not natural. I cannot pronounce all this food down here, but it's very high in density, very hard to digest. Almost all the children who have this, they come see me for congestion. And if you don't believe me, next time you take care of children who have a trach and a G-tube, their cerebral palsy in a wheelchair. Number one, when you have a trach, it's hard to poop. You cannot Valsalva. Number two, because you're in a wheelchair, you don't walk. So many of them have constipation. Number three, the G-tube feeding is the same amount every day. So oftentimes they reflux, the parasympathetic is stimulated, the nose is congested. They make so much runny nose and congestion and noise. I am drowning every day in these types of visits. And yes, I'm still a surgeon, and yes, I can do surgery, but this is now my entire life, okay? I don't even know how to, you know, the stuff that you see in the nutrition bottle. And finally, as you know, in my country, wow, we give so much pills, medication. So Zantac just got taken off the shelf because of association with liver cancer. Last year, CNN comes out, 2016, excuse me, and says, oh my gosh, proton pump inhibitors can cause renal failure. I don't know if in Brazil you have these commercials like in America. They will show a beautiful sunset, maybe a man and a woman, very romantic and happy, and it's some pill. And then there's a voice. It says side effects include blindness, dizziness, vomiting, seizures, death, or color blindness. I mean, I don't know. And medicines are important. They save lives, chemotherapy, insulin for diabetics, you know, blood pressure medicine. I respect all that. I just don't think that we should be using it so much in children, especially when we can do better to change their eating habits. So I try not to put people on a special diet. It's not that. I tell parents why it's important. I worry about my daughter and her generation. Who's going to teach them how to cook? Feels like nobody cooks anymore, right? I want her to know how to prepare food and how to be in control of her life and how to stay healthy. So I said, look, it's impossible not to have sugar. Please know I have cookies and ice cream in my refrigerator right now. But if you're going to eat it, you eat right after dinner. You cannot have so much at nighttime. I want a lot of water. I tell them to close the kitchen. And this is what I hope you can do, is to share this with your families. Every time I get to speak to people, I say, listen, if your child comes with ENT symptoms, please ask about their eating habits. Children who are obese, in my hospital, I refer them to weight management. I make sure we talk about mental health support. It is never about their weight. So many families don't have a scale. No wonder the children are, 13 and 250 pounds. Nobody's checking. And we also, give them help. People need help. Families need help. Life is difficult. So as I wrap up tonight, I love these two quotes: the best and most efficient pharmacies within your own system. And also, I used to doubt myself. I have had so many studies that have been rejected in our own peer-reviewed journal. Who wants to talk about food? That's not scientific. But I've taught myself to feel confident because I see the results. A few observations and much reasoning sometimes lead to error. Many observations and little reasoning to the truth. So for any more information, I have a website. It has many blogs that I have written. I also have some online courses for families, and you will find some information on my YouTube channel as well. So thank you again for this time, and I look forward to some discussion and questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Julie. It was an excellent presentation that you covered in 45 minutes. And I have Koji, our colleague here from Fundação Otorrino, that he will share with me a ping pong of questions. So first question that I would like to ask you is about if you are aware in the literature about a mother that eats sugar, and if there is a reflex in the mother's milk when she's breastfeeding, is a question, if you're aware of this.
I am not, but that does not surprise me. The one thing I am aware that is interesting is there was a clinical trial done to look at children's preference and acceptance of food in the first year of life, depending on what the mother eat and drink when they're pregnant. So the research group, they had mothers that eat a lot of carrots, and they noticed another group, the mothers did not eat a lot of carrot. By the time the baby's 8 months old, when you feed them baby food, carrots, the ones whose mother ate it, they were much more accepting. And I believe that because we know that in this miracle of life, in the amniotic fluid, maybe the baby tasted carrots. I don't know, but I don't have other information. I think if we look, we might find something. But maybe because I'm raised in Taiwan, when I was pregnant with my miracle pregnancy, I ate everything. So my daughter eats everything. She likes expensive food. So somebody wants to adopt her. She likes pate and, yeah, okay. Fancy cheese.
Koji, do you want?
Let me see if I understand well. You believe that there are two mechanisms, two physiopathology, the acid reflux and a kind of a systemic inflammation reaction, all right?
Right. I didn't have time to share the research I did for 2 years. I partnered with a lab, cardiovascular physiologist. I took children, preschool kids. It was a very small pilot study. It's published, and I can share with Tanya for the audience. I measure in the blood, anti-inflammatory marker, pro-inflammatory marker. So alpha TNF, IL-1, 5, 6, 10, 13. I checked the triglyceride, the LDL. I checked everything. The group I looked at are the kids with runny nose. They're 2, 3, 4 years old. They drink and they took 87 grams of sugar a day. The control group had ear tubes, no nose problems. I did sinonasal quality of life. The study was small. Too many people dropped out. They don't want their 3-year-old to get poked the second time for the blood. What we found, I don't have statistical significance, not enough power. But I'll tell you, 2 weeks cutting down the juice and the sugar, wow, the alpha TNF dropped, the triglyceride in skinny babies dropped. We found the pro-inflammatory marker go down, the anti-inflammatory marker go up. I tried to submit a R21, I got rejected. I have to admit, I don't consider myself a true scientist, but I would love to show that in larger group of children. I absolutely believe in inflammation.
Okay, I'm going to ask another question right now. Do you think that poverty is coming early, and maybe this is a dietary impact?
Absolutely. This morning in my drive, I listened to NPR a lot. They were talking about Chile, the country of Chile, and how now the affluent is very affluent, but the poor, the divide is so great. My heart aches in my country. I'm proud. As a part of Nemours, we see 73% Medicaid, which is socioeconomically disadvantaged. The problem that I see is we have federal programs. It's called Women, Infant, Children. I don't know if they have the equivalent in Brazil. So if you're poor, you get like almost like food stamps, right? You go someplace, you buy your grocery. You know, they give so much apple juice, dairy, cheese, milk, eggs. I'm not saying there's not nutrition, but it has taken a long time in this country. We don't give fresh fruits and vegetables. We push, there's a lot of political influence. So when it comes to poverty, yes, I understand, because $1 US will buy 1,000 calories in mac and cheese. It will only buy 100 calories in fresh fruit. But I teach all the families that say to me, poor people cannot eat healthy. That's a lie. The money you save from smoking, from buying processed foods, from soda, if you are willing, I think that money you can buy some fresh fruits and vegetables. Everybody can do something, make one change that's better. I hope that answers your question.
Julie, in young babies with no breastfeeding situation for any reason, and with sinusal symptoms, how do you replace the cow milk?
Yeah, so and I apologize. I just think I heard poverty, and we'll come back to puberty. I am embarrassed about that. Good thing for the chat. So first, remind me again, Dr. Koji, the question is replacing the milk, replacing the milk. Okay, as an ENT, I have to be very careful. I can be from Taiwan, but I'm Americanized, I'm in the United States. I don't just tell a family, oh, you cannot have milk. I never say that. If a child is showing symptoms, I say you go back to your doctor. If you have a lot of emesis, diarrhea, bloating, you know, maybe see a GI, maybe you're lactose intolerant. You know, we cannot test always and prove that. African American, Chinese people, a lot of us, I'm very lactose intolerant. What I tell them is, you know, even if you believe the baby formula the first year, the second year when they switch to cow milk is when I see a lot of problem. But even if you're willing to have problems for one more year, I know by the time you're 2, the myelination in the brain is done. You cannot tell me that I'm going to suffer neurologic devastation without cow milk. So after age 2, I tell them they always talk to their pediatrician, but they have the right to choose a non-cow dairy alternative. And as far as puberty, this is interesting, right? If the only thing I believe in, I don't know about how you raise cattle or raise dairy cattle in Brazil. Come on, in this country, you've seen the documentaries, it's factories, it's these animals that are chained, they're being milked. We give them all kinds, the pharmaceutical industry is so big in veterinary science, right? We give antibiotics, we give anabolic steroid, we make animals grow big, you know. I really believe in the hormones and hormonal influence. Now, my husband's American, I'm from Taiwan. I tell you, what sometimes I meet a child who's 10, who's 12, 13, they look like a grown woman. Precocious puberty is on the rise. I know young girls are getting their period earlier compared to decades before. I don't have exact proof, but I bet you, if you Google, you will find many associations. I hope that answers the question about puberty.
Yes, it answers. Thank you so much. And do you know that in Brazil, we stimulate maternal breastfeeding as longer as we can? This is something that the Pediatric Brazilian Association is always very keen and happy to promote in every single media. And there is a question about 70% of Brazilian kids show some sort of malocclusion from the teeth. And chewing start with breastfeeding. That is essential for a good facial development. So maybe if you comment something about the importance of breastfeeding in terms of muscles here and
facial development. Yes, I would love to. One, I love that about your entire country and campaign, to emphasize breastfeeding. I myself do so much infant tongue tie to help a mother not have pain. I struggle with breastfeeding, so I'm very empathetic to that. The malocclusion question I want to talk about. One of the reasons I'm against all these pouches, the pouches are all pureed. I'm thinking to myself, what happened to human beings that babies cannot use their teeth to chew? So I worry that because everything that's processed is this liquidy, that if you were coming from when I was growing up, my grandmother chewing meat, putting in my mouth, so I have to chew. Maybe, I don't know, I'm not an oral maxillofacial surgeon, but maybe we are not helping to develop the perioral musculature, the dentition. Now, if you believe what I shared is true, and the children sleep at night congested with mouth open, the tongue is not touching the roof of the mouth. The tongue is a natural palate expander. So if the mouth is open, maybe that's why we have more malocclusion. Whereas if the mouth is closed, theoretically, the facial growth should guide itself. But I have had many years of braces, and I also didn't have cow milk. I have to admit, I don't think I had enough calcium. I have very, very bad teeth. So I hope that answers. Those are just my thoughts about those questions.
Koji? If don't, there is a very interesting question here. Here in Brazil, we have another cultural problem because some families add some starch that we call maizena, starch formulas at the milk. And I think that can be even worse because those children use that strong formula until toddler, many, many years, and they become fat and fat and fat, but they are not really well nourished. So we use this starch, this maizena, a lot.
Why? What is the belief behind the behavior?
I don't know, it's a habit that we have in Brazil in order to make the milk richer,
Yeah. That reminds me, right? Many, many decades ago, or in Taiwan or China, if you were poor, you don't have enough rice, then it's a lot of water and very few rice. So as you have more rice, you can have more substance. I think in America, people, they start very early. What surprised me is I don't remember 10, 20 years ago starting baby food so young. That's new for me. Now at 5 months, first it's, we got to put a cereal, rice cereal to make it thicker. The belief is that it'll sit in the stomach longer. Maybe they won't be hungry because that will delay gastric emptying. And the belief is every time a baby cries at night, they must be hungry. People don't do sleep training, right? And as they get older, I just find that we're feeding babies very early. They get sugar very early. I'm reading the chat. There's something else I wanted to comment on. Do I use ranitidine besides diet for reflux with respiratory symptoms?
Yeah.
Thank you for asking that question. One, in United States, we switched to famotidine because of the cancer risks I talk about. Two, it depends. Younger than 12 months, I cannot tell a mother, I never tell them not to nurse. You can use breast milk all night if you want. I don't stop that. If it's bottle, after 12 months, no bottle. Every one of my patients, it's horrible for the teeth. Very hard to get dental care in America if you're poor. So no bottle. And when they're younger, it's hard to tell a mom for a 7-month-old, don't give a bottle at bedtime. But if they're big and chubby and there's enough weight, I stop the bedtime milk. That helps a lot with the respiratory symptoms. I really try not to make many prescriptions. I used to belong to a committee 10 years ago in our hospital for PPI and H2 receptor. And it turns out it can make the stomach content not acidic, but it doesn't change the reflux frequency and index.
So Julie, I think that you answer also the question about poverty and puberty. So it was very good that you put poverty also in your answer, because that's a very, so Koji, do you like, please?
Julie, do you change the cow milk with vegetable milks like soy or rice milk? What's your opinion about this?
Yeah, so many times my American family say, oh, well, if you discourage cow milk, then what do we drink? And they always ask me about soy, because in America, the fear is the estrogen and how that will affect people. You know what I tell them is, here's the truth. I know the soy milk in America may not be the same as what I grew up drinking in Taiwan. I actually know, as a 50-year-old woman, I remember how my mother made soy milk with a pillowcase and a bag of soybeans, right? But who's got time to make their own soy milk? I tell people, if you're not drinking gallons of it, I'm not aware of proof that if you drink soy milk now, you're going to get breast cancer, you're going to have issues, right? I do point out to them, I'm not a food scientist or a nutritionist, my sister is, but I teach them how much protein. My big concern when they're young, if you switch to rice milk or you do almond, you don't have enough protein. And also, I have families who are vegan or vegetarian because of their religion, right? They don't eat meat, they don't do butter. Clearly, you need polyvisol, vitamin A, D, E, K, and some vitamins and things. So I definitely talk about that a little bit. But, you know, rice milk, there's so many children who have cow milk protein allergy. Obviously, in this country, the GI doctor or the pediatrician switch them. Some of them are on Nutramigen, they're on rice, etc. The other things I've learned with my complex G2 babies, once you're older than 1, this country is so slow, but the movement is called blenderized diet. You take chicken noodle soup, you take human food, put it in the blender, put it in the G-tube. These children do so much better. They don't gag, they don't retch, they don't have, the parents tell you once they go to that, or it's a pouch made by a father, it's sweet potato, kale, brown rice, it's chickpeas. Compared to the factory formula, very much a lot better. Oh, somebody wrote PhD Dr. Donald Trump. Sorry, those are 2 words I don't say, I don't like, and I don't trust anything he says. Sorry.
So, Julie, it's already time. It's exactly 7 p.m. in Orlando and 8 p.m. here. We need to end up. And I would like to, we'll have many questions behind, but thank you so much. And I hope that we'll have the pleasure to another day continue with another life. And I will refer you to the IAPOS manual, where we have in English, Spanish, and in Portuguese, very nice chapters of your contribution on dietary habits in children. Thank you so much, Julie. And thank you all for being here. Thank you, Koji. Thank you, Andrea, our translator. Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
Everybody be safe and be well.
Yeah, I wish the same. Bye.
Yeah.